Hello, Internet! Welcome to 2.5 Brains. This is our weekly discussion of the latest episode of Survivor Season 43, Episode 10. We're going to break it all down, talk all about it. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. You can like our Facebook page, Pavement Road Prod on Facebook. It's Pavement Road Productions on Facebook. You also email the show directly, pavementroadproductions@gmail.com. Subscribe, share the post, tell your friends, and get the word out there. Obviously, we're getting closer and closer to the finale, so the more coverage we can get out, the better. And obviously, anybody who's a big Survivor fan, let them know what we're doing here so they can check us out. This week will be the last week for me as of right now to be alone. Obviously, I believe Jessica will be back next week, so be sure to subscribe, and we'll get these out for you. The plan is to get them back out like we have been Thursday at the latest, or ideally Wednesday night right after the show. So I was almost caught back up here. Hit the Amazing Race show out pretty much right after it aired, which is nice. And now the Survivor one was coming out a couple days later. Obviously with the holiday and everything, it's a little bit delayed. So I do apologize on that. So let's go ahead and get started here. I'll talk about the three moments that matter, talk about the who did not survive and what they did wrong, and then talk about the top three and bottom three for the week. And we'll go ahead and dive in here. So let's go and start with moment that mattered, number one, and that is Noelle's amazing challenge performance. So they set it up like it was going to happen this way, and even with that, sometimes editing gets you, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you're like, okay, I saw it coming a mile away, despite your attempt to fool us. But this one was, the challenge involving a balance beam and spinning around and everything like that, and then a balance beam. Noelle had a real difficult time, obviously, on the balance beam, having only one leg. She had the prosthetic on, and it would help her run, but made it really difficult to walk across the beam. So she basically tried it a few times, and then had to turn sideways, and then just kind of hop along the beam, while trying not to fall off. And obviously everybody got through way ahead of her, and the only thing they had to do was just basically land a ball, or a sandbag on top of a giant pillar with a little flat, top. And you had to basically land it on that, and once you landed the one, you were done. So you spun around, you had to go through a couple obstacle courses, and then untie the sandbag and throw it. It took Noelle the longest to get through it. All people were throwing it, and to me that seemed like a really, really easy task. Really easy, final part of the challenge. The little carnival game there at the end. That's one of the carnival games I know I would do really well with. Some of them, I don't know, but that one I definitely would do really well with. It seemed pretty simple and straightforward, and a lot of people got really, really close, got it on, and it just fell off, or got on and it just couldn't stay. So eventually, Noelle finally gets through the obstacle course and gets her chance to throw, and she missed the first couple, and then nails the last one and wins the challenge. And the great, thing for her was that it was for family reward. It was, or it wasn't a family reward, I guess. It's a letter from home, and then food and an overnight stay. She had to pick 3 people to take with her, and she did that. But it was pretty incredible that she pulled it off, and then obviously, coming from so far behind. A lot of times we hear about, people are, it's really difficult, and a lot of times we hear that they're making a comeback or whatever, and then you look at the editing, it's like, they're just trying to make it seem that way to give you some intrigue, because the person who runs the whole thing wins it, and you want to tell the story. But in this case, it really did happen. It really, the person who was out of it, one of the biggest comebacks in history. You talk about some of the, casts in the final 4 of Cagayan, coming from just 3 legs behind to catch up, and win on the puzzle, whatever. That's huge. And, and this was one of the biggest comebacks ever, for sure. So definitely credit to her. And then of course, she picks people to take on the family reward, and I think she made the right picks. I think, really hard to say. Obviously we'll talk about it later, how it turned out for her. Spoiler alert, not well, but the bottom line is, I don't think who she picked had anything to do with it, or the fact that she won the challenge. other than the fact that maybe she's considered a bit of a challenge threat or whatever, which is kind of ironic for somebody who has one leg. But she was definitely considered a bit of a threat, and I think maybe that's why she got they were going after her. But overall, a good job. I think she picked the right people, so good on her. Moment that matter number 2 I want to talk about here was with it was Clutch Cassidy. So they were talking about going after Carla and going after Cassidy and kind of turning the game and flipping it. Taking out the power players left. Obviously, after James went out and Ryan, there's only two original blue members left, Coco members. They decided to, they said, let's take them out now. Let's split the votes on them. If Carla has no idol, because she might, we'll split on her and Cassidy. And if she plays idol, Cassidy goes out. If not, then Carla goes. And that was the plan. So for Cassidy's sake, she was going to be the other, the decoy boot, or the one who was getting the votes split on them. And as happens so often, she pulled off the win, pulled the immunity win out, and it was a similar one. It was like the deck of cards, or the house of cards type challenge, where you have to balance with one hand and stack with the other hand and get it high enough to hit reach an arrow. And she got close a couple times. And everybody kept falling. Everybody had to keep starting over, and they really focused a lot on Cassidy because she kept getting close, and then it would either fall or it wouldn't be quite high enough. She have to kind of take some stuff down and rebuild and everything like that. And eventually, she got there and she won the challenge, winning immunity. And it's been very competitive again with the challenges this season. I don't think anybody's won 2 yet. So it's been very competitive, back and forth, with nobody really jumping out as like the huge threat. Obviously, as we get down. And in all honesty, it usually is that way early. There's really maybe 1 or 2 people who will win 2, but everybody else kind of wins 1. In the early parts with the balancing and that kind of stuff. Once it's like strip physical force or endurance or whatever, then it's usually similar people are winning. But the balancing ones are pretty open to anybody. In this case, Cassidy pulled it off. So then, obviously, Noelle was kind of leading the charge, I think, with others, but with I think Owen and whoever else. Sammy, to maybe target, do the targeting of Carla and Cassidy. So with Cassidy winning immunity, it took Cassidy off the board. So now it's okay, Carla, and who else can we put on it? And they decided, I guess, Noelle and talking to Jesse, I guess, and Cody, let's throw it on Sammy, since Sammy's been playing kind of both sides, and he's playing pretty hard, and he's starting to become transparent that he's playing hard. Starting to become, I should say, apparent that he's playing hard. So they made it him as the other one, the other decoy, or the other, I guess, one to split the votes on. And that changed things up a little bit as well. So for third moment that mattered here, I want to talk about Jesse's checklist. So they've been doing some interesting editing this season. In the last 2 seasons, I don't know if they just have changed the editing or what, but instead of putting where the person's from or their occupation, they put how many advantages they have, and then they're doing a lot of flashbacks to show things. I've been showing a lot more pictures of people from home and what they their pictures of their family and stuff like that while they're speaking, instead of just showing camp life. They're showing kind of that stuff, more the character stuff. And I like it for the most part. And this one was another interesting one. They basically put up, Jesse said, here's 3 things you need to do to pull off a blind side, and he listed them. And as he was doing them, during the show, they put it on the screen and checked it off. And it was really interesting. It basically said, come up with a plan, have a fall guy, and then convince the person to go after the fall guy, whatever. And he decided he wanted to flip things around on Noelle because Noelle's a big threat, and she has been really good at picking up people and building relationships, and obviously she did well in the challenge this week as well. So and her sympathy, because everybody loves her because she's an inspiring figure with everything she's had, with her disability and being so strong and everything like that. She's a big threat, so they want to take her out. So Jesse had a checklist, a three line checklist, and he was explaining to the camera, and then the camera went ahead and put it up on the screen and checked it off as he did them, which was really interesting. And 3 steps to pull off a blind side, and basically, come up with a lie, create a fall guy and then blame the fall guy, basically, is what the checklist was. And it was really interesting to see. And it was a cool little editing trick, and I liked it. So those are the 3 moments that mattered. And now let's go ahead and talk about who did not survive the vote. Of course, that would be Noelle. Noelle E.G. is O-U-T. And what did she do wrong? What mistakes did she make? Well, it was very interesting. She's actually a quite interesting player, in my opinion. A few things. So, she really wasn't giving us much early. I mean, she really wasn't. She'd be on the show. I mean, she said she's gonna make some leg puns and everything like that, and she really didn't. Really disappointed in that regard. It didn't get much strategy talk or anything like that. And she really only made one move, and it's funny because I made it the player of the week last week, and I said the player of the week can go out next week, and of course it doesn't happen that often, but it does happen. And I think the reason I made her the player of the week is kind of I saw the writing on the wall a little bit. I knew that I feel like she wasn't going to be in the game that long. She wasn't getting a big enough edit to be the winner. Obviously she's getting the storyline of overcoming obstacles and everything like that, which of course is great. But she also wasn't getting, and she got some airtime. That's great, and she used that to, she made one good move, and that was huge. And she had a good week, and that was great from last week. But she wasn't really getting enough airtime to really be considered the winner. And I kind of felt like she was gonna eventually get picked off, probably early in merge, because that's usually where characters like that go if they even make the merge. Obviously got Chad from Vanuatu, got Kelly Bruno from Nicaragua. Those are the players who were, the amputees who were on the show previously. So, for me, this one, I think the reason she got voted out is one thing they really called out. And like I said, I had a feeling she wasn't going to win. I didn't really know why, but I had a feeling she wasn't going to win. And she also, because she wasn't going to have airtime, but she showed that she's somewhat strategic because she made a decent move last week. She was thinking about the game. Whether it was the right move or whatever, or taking out the right person or whatever, at least she was showing that she was thinking. She didn't just. I feel like nobody just gave her that idea. I feel like she came up with the idea to use her vote steal on Owen last week. I feel like she had that on her own. She used that to blindside James. And when she had Sammy on her side, it was over. Because all she needed to do was steal the vote, and she had what she needed. She could have stole James's vote and done the same thing, but she wanted to not make sure there was no idol played. So it was a smart move. So consider all things considered, she's at this point a professional athlete. I mean, in her career, she's a Paralympian. So she is no scrub in the challenges. She showed she's decently strategic, but I think the reason she got voted out is not even really that. I think the reason she got voted out is kind of what they said earlier. They said it in the episode. I feel like Jesse said it actually. Why when he's talking about why you should take out Noelle, and why Noelle should be the target. And he said, he laid it out really, really well. Like, back on their original, I think it was Vessi tribe, or whoever tribe it was. Back in the original Red tribe, they voted out Justine, and Noelle and Justine were very close. It was basically the 3 pairs, right? It was NECA and Cody, and it was Jesse and Dwight, and it was Noelle and Justine. And they voted out Justine, and then Noelle went ahead and scooped up Dwight, pulled Dwight away from Justine. All right, and then they voted out Dwight, and then she grabbed Owen and pulled Owen away, and made Owen her number 1. And she, is Carla, I guess, in that way, because Carla's got great relationships with everybody, but I guess it wasn't as, I guess Carla's doing it way more under the radar, I guess. It's really hard to say. But that's the number one reason I think why she got voted out. I think that was her, her problem. I think that's what happened, and why Noelle got knocked out of the game. I think it was basically because she just was very good socially, and it manifested in building good allies and everybody knowing that she had a close ally here and there, and she was able to work with everybody, and using that using the fact that she was they consider her a hero because she was able to, overcome her obstacles and her adversity and all that stuff. And fantastic. And that's huge. And that makes you a threat. And again, the person who's like, they get to the end of winning because, everybody loves their story. You got to tell the narrative. You got to tell a story. What Noelle does is a complete jerk. Right? Because you're super likable because of your story. And the winners have to tell a good story. They have to tell the story why they should win. And for her, she just pointed at her leg. And that makes her, winner material for sure. She can say, "Look what I overcame to be here, just being here, just surviving my accident." So, she didn't have to do anything else really. She could have just pointed that, and obviously that story, the sympathy or empathy, whatever everybody else had, made them want to work with her. They liked her and they wanted to work with her. Gabler calling her a hero, right? All those things. So, that opened the door for her to make strategic and social moves, and then she also wasn't a scrub in the challenges either, all things considered. And you can't let the person go any further. That's why they went after Kelly Bruno pre-merge, right? In Nicaragua, they had to get rid of her pre-merge because look, we know she gets the end, she's gonna win. She already got the story, and that's what they did. They took her out, and that's the obvious move. Noelle's in a very tough situation with, being, that person. There's really not much room for you to move unless you can somehow pull the wool over and keep all the other threats around or whatever. I don't know. Build up everybody else's threat level. But it's really, nobody who's, deaf or they haven't had a blind person, but no amputee or, physically handicapped, or obviously even Ryan with his story this season, or Tourette's or anything, nobody with any medical condition or abnormality or whatever you want to call it, any disability. I really hate calling them that because a lot of times they're not disabled, they're just different, but overtly different, right? Nobody like that has ever won the game, and that's why, because they can point to their story at the end and say, "Here's why I should win," and nobody would vote against that. So you can't let them get that close. And I think that's, I think it was more to it than just that, for her, for Noelle, because she played a really good game overall. She wasn't like the biggest power player in the game. She wasn't, dominating the confessionals or anything like that, but she played a good game. And, again, for her sake, you can't really let her get much further than she did. And I think that's why she got knocked out. So, switching gears here, let's talk about remaining players. Only, 8 left in the game now? So, or 9? There's only 9 left in the game now. So, it's getting down to it. It really is. All right. Actually, no. Sorry. There's only 7 left in the game now. There's only 7 left in the game. My numbers are all off. 7 left in the game. So, 6 will be in our top or bottom 3, and 1 will be left out. So let's go ahead and talk about the bottom 3 for the week. And this is, again, a lot of times not specifically what they did this week or didn't do this week. A lot of times it's in general. But the bottom person, number 1 this week, I have to go with Owen. And Owen, again, similar position as he was last week. He lost his number 1 now, though. So obviously he's close with Sammy, and I guess he's close with Gabler still. But they all have, other options. Not as much Gabler as Sammy. But again, if it came down to it, said, hey, it's, if they went to Sammy and said, hey, Sammy, Owen's got to go, I don't think Sammy's going to, risk his life in the game for Owen. I really don't think, maybe Noelle would have, but that's the only one I really can see who's like, there's really nobody I can see right now, I guess I should say, in that perspective. There's really nobody I could see who would, risk their game to protect Owen. And so he's kind of in a difficult position right now, and I don't see, I definitely don't see him winning, and I don't know how much further he's going to be able to go. Granted, it depends on what the players want to do, right? Because if you want to just focus only on threats and hitting on threats, well, then Owen could skate by for a while. But, I don't see him making it too far. And not for nothing either. I was talking with Jessica, because we did both watch it together. and we were watching the Amazing Race, and I said the Amazing Race is the final 5 teams really. There's anybody who could win it this season, and I feel very similar about Survivor. I mean, every year there's usually a person or two can maybe win, and other than that, maybe somebody else really things go crazy. They could win. Kind of Marianne was that way. She was like, not like somebody I'm like, oh my gosh, she's definitely winning, but like, well, if she's at the end of the right person, she could definitely win, and I can see a path there for her. I can see, she had a good shot at getting to the end. And if she got to the end with the final, with anybody who, I figured these people will be knocked out, these people will be knocked out, and then, if she gets to the end of those people, she's gonna win, and the odds are she's gonna get to the end, so she got better odds. All those things. Long way of saying, there's always a couple people who can say, oh, maybe they can win, but it's probably maybe one of these couple people. This season, there's really a couple people I think who can't win, and then aside from that, there's really, the last few seasons they've been doing a good job, I guess you can say, hiding the winners at it. So it's not so obvious who's going to win. It's one of those things where you want to, when you're, it's a whodunit, a murder mystery. You want to be like, well, how do they get to that conclusion? Because you don't want it to be obvious who the killer is, but once it's revealed who it is, you want to be able to be like, oh, that makes so much sense. And with Survivor this last couple seasons, it's kind of been like that. Not so much with Erica, I guess, or really, I guess really 42 either, I guess, with Marianne, but it's like, you want to be able to be like, not shocked by who won, but also not like, make it that obvious, I guess, so I feel that way pretty strongly this season. I feel like there's a lot of players this season who could take this, and a lot of players who could win. There's a couple, I think, who really don't have any shot at all. And they're probably maybe the people in the bottom 3 here, or at least 2 of the bottom 3. I'd say 2 of the bottom 3 don't have a shot. But other than that, I really think anybody could pull it off. That's really exciting. But I don't think it's gonna be Owen. I just don't see it. Also, number 2 on the bottom 3 is Cody. And though Cody seems likable and that, he's been hiding as a salesman and everything like that, and seems playing the surfer bro stuff and everything, and he still has an idol that he and Jesse are sharing. And Jesse said that he had his cover story was that Cody wanted it back, and so he gave it back to him. But we didn't see that on the show, so I don't think that's real. But I don't think Cody has a shot because he's not playing that game really to win. He said every time he talks about something with him and Jesse, he says we, and it's not we, it's you and him. You're separate people. And he said, oh, we have a good shot to win. No, it should be I have a good shot to win, not we. Again, he's got the mindset all wrong, and I don't think he's going to be able to make the move. I think if it comes down to it, where he has to stab Jesse in the back to win the game, I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he will. Maybe he'll stab Jesse in the back, and it'll be him and Owen and Gabler at the end. It'll be a miserable final 3. But maybe. I just don't see it. So we'll see what happens here going forward, but I just don't see Cody with the killer instinct in this case to pull it off. And for number 3 on the bottom 3, this one I think does have a shot, but I think he's getting a little bit exposed now, and that's a problem, is Sammy. Sammy's been playing good games and making good bonds. He's been working with just about everybody. He's playing both sides in every situation, everything like that. He's playing down his age. He's saying he's older than he is, so that people don't not give him the money because he's only 19 when he's actually, saying he's 22. All those things. And he's definitely a mature 19-year-old. He seems at least like a mature 19-year-old. So he's doing a good job in the game. I just fear that his number is going to be up, especially now that, he was kind of working with Noelle, and she decided to make him the decoy boot, or the backup plan. The backup plan if something went wrong. And I think Owen's working with him. I think Gabler is willing to work with him. Obviously, Carla has lots of options as well. And Carla at this point just needs to, throw enough shields in front of her to get to the end. So they say Sammy's got to go, and Sammy's got to go. Even though he's willing to work with her. So we'll see what happens. But I think there's a lot that can go right for him. I think he still can definitely win the game. But also the fact that his name came up, people are saying he's playing both sides. I think his number could be up sooner rather than later. If he gets to the end, he definitely has a shot. There's no doubt about it. I think they're onto him now. I think his game's kind of out there. Whereas Jesse and Carla, obviously, I think Jesse and we'll talk about Gabler here in a minute, kind of sniffing out the Jesse and Cody of it all. But I think again, and Carla, got targeted as well. So I really, even the people who are looking like they have a really good shot to win, they're even getting targeted now. They're their names are being out there. So it's not. I can see any of them winning. There's like 3 people I think who have a really good shot to win, and I've been saying them, singing their praises all season. But I think any of them can kind of get taken out now, and then it's wide open. If all three of Sammy, Carla, and Jesse get taken out, who's going to win? I have no idea. But I think Sammy is, again, he could pull something out, whatever. But he's also, I don't think he has as many allies. I think if they went to Owen and said, hey, Sammy's got to go, or Gable said Sammy's got to go, and they said, and they say, hey, he's been saying this and this and this and playing both sides, I don't think they'd be afraid to do that. I don't think they'd be afraid to throw him under the bus and cut him loose, especially when they find out that he's been kind of talking, behind their backs, which everybody does, but when you get exposed, it's a big problem. So we'll see what happens with him. I'm not down on him necessarily, but I think he had a little bit worse week because for the first time his name's really out there, and we'll see what comes of that. But obviously his big thing was he told Carla last week, and Noel and Owen weren't too thrilled. They told Carla that, hey, we're going after James because he wanted to save that ally and whatever. But I said last week, I think I called that last week, and I'm wrong on 95% of things I say. But last week I did say, I think if I'm Sammy, I say I go back to Carla and beg for forgiveness rather than asking for permission. Right? Beg for forgiveness for turning on James rather than asking for permission to vote out James. I think that would be the better move for him. And obviously, since he told her before the vote, now who knows? She could be in some trouble, or he could be in some trouble because that came out that he spilled the beans before tribal council. But we'll see. Next, let's talk about the top 3. As for the top 3, so Cassidy obviously was needed a big immunity win. She pulled it off. Did a good job. Did a good job of the balancing, and I said it's been a really good immunities here because nobody's really dominated. There has been the one challenge beast, who's just taken over, and it is still obviously pretty early, merge, which does favor a lot of times those challenges are the endurance or the strength base because you're not gonna have an obstacle course with 9 people on the obstacle course at the same time. It's not logistically too possible. So she pulled off an immunity win. She definitely needed it. I don't necessarily think she was going to go home if she didn't do it. I still think probably the results still probably would have been the same. Probably still would have been Noel, but she so she pulled off the immunity win when she needed it, which is nice. But number 3 in the bottom, number 3 I should say in the top 3, I'm going Mike Gabler. And the reason is we saw something in the episode right before the vote, and it may have been something to throw us off, kind of, because Gabler is working an angle or whatever, and who is he going to go and take out Jesse or Cody? He's kind of suggesting that. But ultimately, he voted with them and took out Noel, and I think only 2 people voted the other way. I think it was Noel voted. And then maybe Sammy and Owen. I'm not actually 100% sure, but Owen voted, with the split vote thing, and so did Noel. And then there was one other vote that was part of the split vote. But that being said, Gabler mentioned that hey, this is look out for Jesse and Cody. They're working different side of they're working kind of playing both sides, blah blah. He mentioned that it's something we're gonna have to deal with, and they kind of left it at that. And so I think kind of what Gabler was saying is, hey, Cody and Jesse are a threat, and we have to keep an eye on them, and we're gonna have to make a move on them sooner rather than later. But I think he realized that let's let them take out Noel. Let them do the dirty work, take out Noel, and they'll pick up pieces and take them out. Because they're going to isolate a couple people by taking out, Noel. And I'm always hesitant, especially when I say players should be hesitant when, hey, we can get rid of, if there's 3 people voting this way and 2 people voting this way, and then 2 other people voting this way or whatever, getting somebody to split the vote, and then getting, if it's a majority of 6, let's say, 3 vote one way, 3 vote another way, and you have 4 people voting, you pull 2 people off, whatever. I'm always hesitant for a player to do that. For a player to be, hey, it's gonna be 4 votes in this one, 3 votes in that one, but instead let's take those 2 and pull 2 others off, so it's actually 4 to 3 to 2 the other way, or whatever. Because you still don't necessarily have the majority. And if the 5 who were voting as part of the split vote realign, now it's 4-4, and then the person who just pulled over, if they were able to jump over that easily, able to jump over back the other way again. So there's always a risk to do that. And so for Jesse and Cody, that may not have been the right move, looking back at it, because they took out Noel, which is great, but they also kind of showed their hand a little bit, if that makes sense. So Gabler, I think, is picking up on things like that, and I think Gabler is like, hey, let's let them make the move. We'll go along with it, because we know Noel's a threat. We're not going to go out of our way to save Noel. We're not going to blow up our game to save Noel. So we'll let them take her out, and then we'll just keep that in mind, and we'll make a move perhaps next week. And I think that's certainly possible of what they're going to do next week. I think Gabler and Carla, I think that war is starting. And I think it's going to be, the Carla, Gabler and Owen versus Jesse, Cody, and, whoever. And I don't know if Jesse, Cody, and them, I think they might be outgunned. I really do. Because, obviously Cassidy's with Carla, and then Sammy's going to be the one who kind of goes in the middle. And if he might align with the other ones, but then it's still going to be, could still be 4-3, so it's going to come down to it that way. But I think the bottom line is, I think Gabler's kind of, he's been saying all along that he wants to be in the middle, he wants to be going kind of under the radar, blah, blah, blah. And I always say that you want to sleep for, the first half of the game at least, and obviously in this case, that's what he's doing, regardless of whether he's actually making bonds or whatever. He seemed to be making some emotional decisions and not strategic decisions, and didn't seem to have a ton of agency in the game. So there's all those things. But it's also possible that he is just laying back and waiting. And if that's what he's doing, then good. Because that means all he needs to do is wait till the final 7. It's really the last time you really can make a move in the modern era. I say sleep until final 9 or final 8 or final 7 if you can. Make a big move, be the last one to make a big move. And that's all you need is really one move. And Gabler could do that. And he's kind of starting to show that it's something he could do. He's kind of getting it out there a little bit, meaning like, hey, look, I'm going to make a strategic move right now. Now that the numbers are down enough where they can't really stop me. You either have to make a big move early and then hide, or make a big move so late that there's not enough numbers left in the game to take you out. I still don't think Gabler is the number 1 pick on the board to win. And a lot of times he could just be saying, hey, I'm right where I want to be, and never make a move to win the game, because he's just, playing a game where I'm going to be nice and loyal and win the game. And that's not what wins you the game anymore. But Gabler's been underplaying everything. I mean, he has. He's playing a very similar to Tommy Sheehan type game, or even, Marianne a little bit from last season, right? And I don't know if you saw that season or was there filming when that season ended. I really don't know. But for me, Gabler is kind of playing that game. Like, hey, I know I'm the big threat. I'm a decently fit guy. I'm a little older. I'm a fit guy, and I'm a doctor. I'm a heart surgeon, right? And I'm likable. So it's going to be hard for people to let him go far in the game. He has one immunity, but only one, and he hasn't really made any strategic moves yet. So if this is his strategy, fantastic. Go with it, because it could be really huge. I don't know if it is. I'm not sold that he's doing all this on purpose. I'm not sold on that. I'd love for it to be the case, but I'm definitely not sold on it. I think he is making some emotional moves. I don't think he's playing a great game. But if he literally trying to lower his threat level and keep other threats in front of him, and then make a move at the final, 7, 6, and flip the game on its head and then take it from there, fantastic. He would start by taking out, Jesse next, or Sammy, and then Carla, and then, you're at the final 4, and you're just making fire to get the final 3, and probably nobody left can beat you. So we'll see what he does, but again, there's at least a hint or a tease that he's ready to make a move, and he's playing a strategic game, and if that's the case, then awesome. I hope he is, for his sake. Top 3, number 2, I'm going with Carla again. She's still strong, still in a good spot. Again, her names come up, and at this point, every strong player's names come up. Pretty much everybody's name, even if you're not strong players, is come up. So it's really, anybody can really, win at this point. And there's plenty of threats left in the game. That's why I think it's gonna be a really fun finish. The season itself has been so, but I think it's gonna be a really fun finish based on that. I hope they don't do the prisoner's dilemma or whatever it's called, the 1 in 3 odds of surviving type of thing they did the last couple seasons. They probably will. I don't love it, but they probably will do that, which kind of sucks. But I digress. But for number 2, it's got to be Carla. She's just, again, still playing a solid strategic game, friends with everybody. And again, she's come up a little bit because she's a threat, but nobody's really been like, oh my God, she's told me the same thing. Oh my God, she told me the same thing. Nobody, I don't think anybody who thinks they're her number 1 thinks that anybody else is her number 1. You know what I mean? I don't know if she even knows who her number 1 is. I think she has six number 1s left. I can see it being Cassidy. I can see it being Sammy. I can see it being Jesse. And it really could be any of them. And she's got a close bond on a person on each tribe. And that's huge. From each original tribe, that's huge. So I think she's playing the best strategic game as of right now. The only question is, will she be able to keep people ahead of her long enough? Keep shields in her way long enough, or will she be able to make fire or win that last immunity? I think that's what it is. I really think that's what. I mean, if Gabler is talking to her, let's start talking about making a move. Fantastic. That's what she wants to hear. She can be like, hey, all right, fine. Jesse goes, and then Sammy goes, and then Gabler's when we're making all these moves, we gotta cut Gabler at 5. Cool, cut Gabler at 5. Now she's at the final 4, and maybe it's her, Cassidy, whoever. I think she beats anybody at the final 4. I think she beats anybody at the game. If we go to the end right now, I think she beats anybody. So, I mean, if she wants to keep those shields around one more vote, heck, throw Gabler under the bus next then. And let him get knocked out. And then Jesse, and then Sammy, and then, you're there. And there's nobody who, and you're riding pretty. Sitting pretty at the end. So, we'll see. I still think, as the numbers get lower, though, it gets... You can kind of start seeing the path to the end more. This is why I really like this part. The mid to late merge, getting closer to the finale. You can kind of really see what moves they need to make, where the mistakes happen that cost them the game, and things like that. So, Carla's my top person, number 2. And then player of the week this week is going to be Jesse. I don't know if he made the right move. I don't know if it was too soon. I don't know if he's, I don't really know what he's doing, but obviously his kids wrote someone to get that money, baby. In the letter they said get that money, baby, and he's making the move, trying to get the money, and I can't fault him. I think he's gonna try his best. He's my winner pick, so I think he's got a good shot at it still. It's gonna depend on which way everything falls in this upcoming, I think this upcoming civil war with this tribe. I think if he is against Carla and Cassidy and Gabler, then he needs everybody else. Right, then he's pulling Sammy and Owen with him and Cody, and the 4 of them go to the end. I think it's gonna be hard for him. He loses those 3 people. The 3 are against him. Carla, Cassidy, and Gabler are trying to take out him and Cody. Then they need everybody else. So there's no room to move. And granted, Owen's a free agent now, so he could go wherever. I doubt he's going to want to go with the people who voted, against his ally. Maybe he does. Or maybe they grab Sammy, bring Sammy in, and then Sammy and Owen, stick together. That's the thing. But I don't really know if Jesse limited himself with this move he made today. He may have. He very well may have. He may have made it too early. But either way, he got a lot of airtime. He broke down strategy really well, and his move prevailed. So regardless of what happens next week, his move prevailed this week, so he's got to be the play of the week this week. And we'll see what happens going forward. But either way, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. You like our Facebook page, Pavement Road Productions, on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Pavement Road Prod. So the shortened version of Productions, Pavement Road Prod. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel right there, Pavement Road Productions on YouTube, and you can like our Facebook page, as I said, and you can email us directly, pavementroadproductions@gmail.com. Share the post, tell your friends, and spread the word. We'll be back here soon. I'm going to try to get another politics show here before the end of November, so keep an eye out for that as well. And we'll have Jessica back and probably back to our normal recording schedule as of Wednesday for the next episode 11 of Amazing Race, episode 11 of Survivor, and go from there. So thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of the show. Thanks for your feedback. And until next time, I got nothing else for you because the tribe has spoken.